and getting the organization. So let me just frame this for you real quick, and this even touches back on our first segment here today in terms of the debunking of the myth that a good friendship makes for a good business partnership. This is a case where we had a couple of brothers-in-law who had fallen out of love with each other, but the business was too dependent upon them to sell and walk away after about a dozen years of building it up. In fact, when they originally engaged MVP, the idea was to have us come in and do a little valuation for them and then look to sell the company. And when we did the valuation and looking around a little bit, it became very apparent very quickly that the company had little to no value without them. And that's a common thing. I think if you look hard at your business and understanding what value is there if you as the owner are not part of the business. And in this case, these two owners were very, very key to the day-to-day operations, and it was a service-based company. They had 23 employees at that point, or 22. Mm-hmm. So even with that many employees, without the two of them being actively involved day-to-day, there was really very little value to the company. Now imagine that. That's a tough thing to hear. And that's one of the things that Jack and I pride ourselves on. We don't mince words that way. Again, we aren't mean or anything about it, but we're usually very direct. So here's what we see. And it's often the hard truth that most people don't tell the owners. But if you look hard at your company, if you aren't there, is there much value? If you had to sell, these guys wanted to sell and walk away because they were done with each other.
So many owners have a very unrealistic approach to putting a value on their business. Well, I've been doing my business now for 8 years, and I put in all this time and money and have foregone a salary, and therefore I should be getting $500,000 or $800,000 for my business. The marketplace doesn't care about those things so often, and more often than not, a company has to create value through a process, and ultimately that process is positive cash flow, and which we won't get into today at all. But that's people are in a quandary about really a realistic number for their business.
That's right. So as we were talking to these owners, we talked about the fact that, look, here's the problem. He said, the good news is we can help you with this. The idea of getting your team more involved with what's kind of going on to help take the two of you and bring you up out of the day-to-day operations, so where it's not dependent upon the two of you, but taking a lot of the knowledge and skills that the two of you have and making it part of the organization. There's ways to go doing that. And as we tell all our clients, there's no magic wand that we've got that we can wave and make it happen. But if you commit to this over the next couple of years, you can probably get it in a pretty good place where you also do have a lot of value as part of the business, and the two of you are not as involved day to day. So they made a very difficult decision, especially for two people who weren't even speaking to each other when Jack and I were not in the room. Now it wasn't that they were knock down, drag out fights kind of going on. They'd walk by each other in the hallways. They were done with each other. Okay?
Absolutely amazing.
But yet they had to coexist in the building, and so picture the tension that was part of that, in the building. But there's answers for that, okay? And so we spent, we spent the next couple of years with them, helping getting the foundation laid in terms of how to train their key people, because they had some good people on board, as many of them do. As you imagine, with 22 or 23 employees, they had some good people who were there. It was a matter of helping to train those folks to help run the operation, so it wasn't as dependent upon them. And so, over the course of about a 5-year period, the first couple that we spent with them, then they continued this on, which is part of how our coaching usually works, is they continue on to this, where they were able to pull out of the business. And in fact, one of the owners started to pulled what's referred to as
pull out of the operations of the business,
right?
Which they did, yeah.
And they also the owners themselves had a buy-sell agreement in place. It's known as a shotgun provision, which sounds very ominous at times, but the whole idea of a shotgun provision
Sounds
is
like the Hatfield and McCoy,
right,
doesn't it?
right.
That's probably where it came from. But.
Well, it shows you how tense some things can often get. But the idea is that when somebody pulls that trigger on the shotgun provision, is that they make an offer to the other party, and the idea being that if Jack and I had this shotgun provision, I'd make an offer to Jack, and Jack can either accept the offer, or if he doesn't accept the offer, then he has to give me the same offer back. So part of the beauty of this shotgun provision is it makes sure that the offer is not a lowball offer, it's a fair offer in terms of making sure that, because again, if he says no, I got to take it, right? So I offer him a penny for the thing. Okay, well, he says, oh, no thanks, but I'll make sure to buy your stuff for a penny. So it helps to make sure things are done well.
That is pretty good. That's a pretty good process. Right. I like that.
So during the course, the one partner was able to kind of pull away a little bit, and the other partner pulled the shotgun provision on that. And so the partner kind of pulled away. They got the business to the point where they were able to be removed from the day-to-day somewhat. And he took them up. He said, look, I'm not going to take your offer. I'm actually going to buy you out instead. And so he wound up buying the other partner out, and gradually, again, continued to manage the company from afar. He was about 3 hours away in terms of where he spent probably 4 days a week, and he was running the company from there, while his team was. Again, he was overseeing what was going on, but he wasn't as involved day to day, and he started to pursue some other interests, which is another key to make sure that you know if you're going to eventually get out. Again, we got engaged originally because they wanted to get out. Well, again, as an owner, ask yourself, if you aren't running your business day to day, what are you going to do? And so this owner had gotten involved in
So
a
keep
handful
in
of
mind,
other
though,
things.
these skills that he developed, he didn't pick those off the tree. That's through some very good, diligent coaching and the fact that he really committed to it. And he was able to change, literally, his approach to running that business, which I know the story's outcome. That's
Right.
an excellent outcome.
Well, about 9 years after he'd engaged with them, he got an offer that he basically couldn't refuse from a competitor to buy him out, and what they were hoping for 9 years prior, which is they come in and basically there's a bag of cash on the table, and he was able to walk away after he stayed on for 3 months, but he was able to then walk away. That's going on 2 years ago now. This happened.
Got a very nice.
Yeah, and he's very happy
Amount
because
for his
he was
company.
doing a handful of other things in between. So he's very busy. He's not just sitting around. The guy is still relatively young. He's in his early 50s. A lot of life left in him, and he's doing a lot of good things. So he's not bored. He's not just spending all his money. He's very engaged in doing other things that he was doing while he was also running the company. He wasn't actually looking to sell it. The offer came in. He was ready. He was ready at this point to be able to sell it and actually walk away. So it's a
When you
great success
run your
story.
company well, you're basically always open and consider a serious offer for your company. It isn't something you just start doing, when you're getting ready to sell. There are little tweaks that you do, but if you're running your company well, and somebody comes down and says, "Hey, I like this company. I'm going to offer you this," you can do it. You can move quick if you're running your company well.
That's right. There'll be good value for it, and you can actually, because the company's not dependent upon you. So that's something very good to kind of keep in mind. So we want to